So, Devil's Ruin. Now, I'm not gonna set expectations too high here, because I think the title really speaks for itself. And basically the challenge would be, can you complete a Legend Lost sector solo flawlessly with just Devil's Ruin? Without any further delay, let's get right into this video. Right off the bat, there's only one build that I'm really going to use, and that is a MECHANEER'S Tricksleeve using surprise attack, as well as utilizing Font of Might, and last but not least, the Devil's Ruin. Since I'm not allowed to use any other weapon, this is basically what I'm going to use. No abilities, no nothing, just the Devil's Ruin. So I'm gonna show you the build in a second, but basically what I'm trying to do is to ensure that my Devil's Ruin has sufficient damage to take out barrier champions, because that is the only obstacle in this entire Lost sector, and there are many barrier champions, mind you. So I have to be very meticulous about what I do. So these were basically the mods that I was using for my armor. I was running double solar siphon mods on my helmet with taking charge. I was using MECHANEER'S Tricksleeve with double sidearm loader and surprise attack. I was using a solar chest piece with double thermal shock plating as well as elemental armaments. I was using a pair of boots with sidearm holster as well as supercharged, so that I can have additional stacks of charge with light. And I was using a cloak with outreach and powerful friends. And that was basically what I was using for the run. Unlike the other videos, that was the only build discussion that I have for this video, because I am using the same build for the entirety of the run. So yes, that's basically what it is. Similar to what I had mentioned in a comment, I had attempted this run on Master for a few hours in a row. If I remember, I think it was 4 hours I attempted this run on Master, but I could never really get past the first stage with the 2 barrier champions because I simply didn't do enough damage. I'm going to show a few clips here. But yes, that's basically the reason why I could not attempt this on Master difficulty. It was simply too difficult, and not really difficult in the mechanics of the Lost sector, but more on the handling of the situation. What I mean by that is, you need to ensure that you had the MECHANEER'S damage buff, which means you had to be low enough health for it to register. You need to have your Font of Might active, which means you need your Solar Elemental Well ready and make sure it doesn't expire. You need your Charge with Light mods on, so it means that you need your surprise attack mod, which is loading your sidearm with charged magazine. And frankly, it means that depending on which build you use, but for my build, it means that you need orbs of light, and you need to ensure that all of these are present and on the floor and they don't expire. But since they actually do, well, the weighting, as in the difficulty of this run, is less on, like I said, the mechanics and more of whether you can time everything perfectly. And frankly, it is impossible to time it perfectly and kill both barrier champions without basically having extremely high luck. Now on Legend difficulty, it was an entirely different story, because for Legend, the barrier champions aren't as aggressive when drawing up their barriers, basically allowing you to put one full burst of Devil's Ruin into their head before they even react. And usually, if you have the MECHANEER'S buff active already, when you use your first burst on the head, all you need to do is dodge, and then after that you can use another full round into the head and he's gone. Simple as that. So that's basically the gist of getting rid of the barrier champions, and that was basically the only difficult thing in the entire run, because everything else, as in the difficulty of everything else like the Guardians, the unstoppable champions, are a joke because you just charge a Devil's Ruin and it staggers them anyways, so it doesn't matter. But basically the difficulty of everything else is more or less self-explanatory. So on Legend, I attempted this actually only 4 times before getting a successful run for the first time. However, I realized that my successful run at that time, I actually used finishers to kill barrier champions because I was not confident in Devil's Ruin enough. However, after realizing my mistake that Devil's Ruin is actually more than capable of killing a barrier champion on legend difficulty, I decided that I had to redo this, and more specifically I had to redo this with only Devil's Ruin. The only thing I can use finishers on is, well, the Hive Ghost, because if you don't, they can't die. So that's the only exception here. And basically now on this 6th run, it was time to show you exactly how much easier it is to do this on legend. Opening up the last sector, I make quick work of the enemies at the entrance, with the most annoying thing there just basically being the knight, and yet he was a joke. After which, I make sure to dispatch of all the enemies around the area, ensuring that enough orbs of power as well as elemental wells were present before disposing of the barrier champion. After that, the guardian spawned, made quick work of him, finished the goals, went on. So unstoppable champion spawn, and frankly I just let myself get into close quarters with the thrall, letting them do enough damage to me, and then dispatching of the unstoppable, the other ogre, and the guardian. Easy. Finishing his ghost, of course, and lay waste to the barrier champion. Now this is basically the last of the annoying barrier champions, because everything else from here on is basically a cakewalk. Now at the last room, and there are a bunch of thrall praying to God to save them, but you know, there is no God here except for me. I took the Devil's Ruin and burned a few of them alive. The rest of them tried to chase me. I burned them down too. And then the big boy came, also upset that I burned all his thrall and his barrier champions. Whoops. So then I made short work of him, and I burned the last barrier champion to the ground, clearing the map. And now, with 5 minutes and 26 seconds on the clock, I can confidently say it is possible to beat a Legend Lost Sector solo flawlessly with just Devil's Ruin. If I seem somewhat lacking of enthusiasm and energy, it's because as of the time of this recording, I'm not exactly feeling so well. And additionally, I'm quite disappointed with the fact that I could not complete this run on Master difficulty. I would like to attempt this challenge again in the future, but for now, I have to deliver what I said, and this was the challenge that my subscriber had requested. And I can prove that at least it is possible on Legend. Since the season of Risen is coming to an end, should another Lost Sector appear next season with Anti-Barrier and Unstoppable, with Solar Burn, and the attrition modifier, and I will explain it in the comments why I say these specifically. If a Master Lost Sector comes up with these mods, you will see me trying this challenge, reattempting it, and possibly even succeeding. However, because this challenge was issued to me in Season of Risen, I will not be using any future mods that will benefit me. So basically, whatever mods you see me use here, I actually am keeping the build for next season. And I will attempt this again next season with all these same mods. And hopefully by then I will not only be feeling much better, but I will also be able to deliver on my own expectations, as well as to meet the expectations that have been set for me. So not much of a fancy ending here, and I thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.